Hey everybody. So the question has come up in the dog culture discussion. Um, is there a parasite that is controlling the minds of dog owners? Because they say and do some crazy stuff. Their life is full of poop and pee. They'll argue with people over barking. You can't talk to them honestly about the negative externalities, and it's instantly a fight. So is something going on with them? Do they have like a mind virus or parasite? Well, yeah, the parasite is the dog. Look at millennials. Millennials spend more on their own health of the dogs than they do on themselves. They're like self hating worshippers of dogs. Millennials treat dogs like children. So, yeah, we do have a parasite that is controlling the minds and decision making of millennials. Just think about it. A female dog and a male dog boned and created a puppy. And now you're going to base all your decisions on the sex habits of a dog. But that's not actually what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about a different type of mind control. So let's go over here and talk to Dr. Berg for a little while. The first thing we need to learn about is the microbiome of your gut. The microbiome is super important. If you don't have a good microbiome, you have something called dysbiosis. And when you have dysbiosis, these are some of the microbes that end up in your gut. These microbes are also found on dogs.
E. coli. All these microbes do live in your body in a healthy environment and they don't bother you until the relationship changes because of the environmental changes. But if you're missing this diversity, all sorts of issues can happen. Diarrhea, inflammation in your gut. You get more toxins, obesity, your metabolism slows down.
So, in this video, Dr. Berg talks about all the great stuff you can do for your gut microbiome. So, let's cruise along here and we'll stop right. Okay, so he talks about pregnant mother, which is another important issue of this. If the mom doesn't have a good gut microbiome, it also affects her baby. And currently, we have a lot of crazy birth defects going on. So this is an important issue. And let's go to the end and see the list that Dr. Berg
I
created.
wanted to shine a very bright light and focus in on.
Okay, so these are things that you can do to help with your gut microbiome, different types of foods, and these are things that were going to hurt your gut microbiome. He talks about pesticides and glycophosphate damaging your gut microbiome. So, this is what he's talking about. The food you eat has a bunch of chemicals in it, and those chemicals are basically antibiotics. Antibiotics like glycophosphate and other pesticides kill your gut microbiome. And many of the foods that dogs eat these days, including prescription antibiotics, the pet dander and the piss and feces particles from dogs also gets into you from breathing. So this stuff is not good for you. It's bad for your microbiome. So back to our little Dr. Berg list. Notice in here, he doesn't say that we need to consume feces and piss particles off of dogs. We don't need to consume flakes of dead hair off of dogs. Those are not things that are going to help our gut microbiome. I'll put this video in the description because in order to understand this, we have to understand the gut microbiome and the importance of it and things that hurt it and things that we can do to improve it. So, in order to understand this argument, we also need to understand that a dog can produce more bacteria in a single day than a person, a horse, and a cow combined. Um, this is an article I'll put in the description. It's about feces particles and piss particles and how bad they are for your human body, which means they're bad for your gut microbiome. There's the one in here about dog feces pose a number of zoonotic diseases to pregnant women. So, this is something that's already been studied, but we've never really put it together to see if it could be controlling our minds. So check in the description, and this whole study will be in there. Okay, the gut microbiome is important to understand because there is a huge gut brain connection. This article will also be in the description. One of the key things to understand is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is connected to your stomach, to all of your digestive system. They call it the second brain because it very much influences your decision making. It's a part of your hormone creation, your neurotransmitters. So, whatever's going on in your stomach and your intestines, whatever it is that you consume, is going to affect all of this. 500 million neurons talks about that. So, as an example of this gut brain connection, I'll put some of these studies down there for you guys to look at. So, sugar cravings, people that eat sugar, the microbes in their gut, they're expecting you to have sugar because that's what they want. If you eat a certain type of food, your gut bacteria are used to that, and so they interact with your vagus nerve and basically tell you how to act. So your gut bacteria is a huge influence on your behavior. So I'll put this video in the description as well. So this video talks about what's going on in your gut with the different little bacteria. So like this right here is the space inside of your intestines, and this is the epithelial layer right here. And so whatever's going on over here is affecting these little hair-like structures, and it creates a signal that goes along the vagus nerve. The pulses propagate via synapses onto the efferent neuron of the vagus nerve. So basically, these little microbes in your stomach, they're saying messages, and it goes up the vagus nerve to your brain, basically telling your brain what's going on in your stomach and affecting all of your, it affects your mood. It affects the way you use dopamine and GABA and other neurotransmitters. I'll put some links about what those transmitters do in the description. But if you have in your stomach a bunch of feces particles, piss particles, and other stuff, those are creating a microbiome that is digesting dead products off of a dog. And that's signaling these things, and that's going to your brain. And have you ever hung around dog owners? They seem indifferent to the smells of piss and shit. It's like their brain doesn't bother them. It's all over their house, their carpet, their couches, their cars, even their clothes often smell like dog urine, and they'll be completely fine with it. It's almost as if they have a fetish for dog excrement. So, that makes me wonder, all the microbiome in here that is constantly being filled with feces particles, that has to be affecting the brain, because we already know that whatever is going on in the gut microbiome, that sends signals across this little epithelium that really isn't even supposed to be handling feces particles from dogs anyways. That's sending signals to the brain. It's telling the brain something, and I don't think it's telling the brain anything good. It seems like it's telling these dog owners to go look for more shit particles so that the microbiome can eat it, just like with the sugar craving example. So your gut microbiome is where many of your short chain fatty acids and other things like neurotransmitters, all your bile acids. So when you're consuming all these feces particles and dander particles off of your dog, you're basically hijacking that vagus nerve. That vagus nerve is designed to help your brain and your stomach interact properly, to do all kinds of amazing stuff for your body. And if you look at all the diseases today and all of the stuff like obesity and depression, they're all related to digestion. So should we be hijacking our stomach and our vagus nerve with all these feces particles that we're consuming as dog owners? That doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't sound fair to humanity. So while we're on the topic of that, serotonin is made in your stomach. So serotonin is an important neurotransmitter. Like when you're at the end of your day and you've had a hard work day and maybe you have some other stuff to do, you still feel chill and calm and you don't have anxiety. You just feel so relaxed. But we have a depression problem in our country where people don't feel that way. So in America, we use the heck out of these antidepressants. There's all kinds of good information to look up about this. But these antidepressants are SSRIs. I'll put some information about that. But we keep using more and more of them, even though it doesn't seem to be helping us. Our country, which is our country has the largest expenditure on dogs, is one of the top countries that uses these selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So this seems to indicate something's not right with our serotonin. So with this serotonin problem that humans seem to have, shouldn't we be doing the best with our gut so we can make more serotonin for ourselves instead of having to take all these pills? Here's another little thing about the gut microbiome. This one will be in the description too.
Brain functioning, even our food choices. But how does it work? The gut microbiome is a collection of trillions of microbes, or microscopic organisms. These microbes, like bacteria and fungi, live in your digestive tract, mostly in your large intestine. Digestion is just your body taking raw materials, food, and turning it into something it can use.
Nice crust.
Digestion makes glucose, which runs your brain and muscles. It also enables your body's messengers like hormones and neurotransmitters. Your digestive system is a factory for turning food into fuel, and your microbes are its workers. And what you get out of it depends a lot on the quality of what you put into it.
The quality of what you put into it. I don't believe our stomachs were designed to take care of feces particles or dander or hair particles. And this has already been proven because of groomer's lung. Groomer's lung is a terrible lung illness from people that groom dogs, and groomer's lung is not just something that groomers get. People get it in their house living with dogs.
Gut microbes have their own genes, which affect the way your human genes act. There are about 20 to 25,000 different human genes that make up your body. Sounds like a lot. But there are millions of different microbe genes inside of you that influence.
Speaking of those genes, people can look at human excrement and they can tell what kind of animal lives in your house. So the genetic material from feces and dander travels through your body. So all this stuff about the genes is important because that genetic material is not something your body is supposed to be messing around with. It's not supposed to be in there. You're not supposed to take a dog and grind a bunch of its skin off and get some powdered poop from it and throw it into your belly. So definitely definitely the pet dander is getting into humans because they've already proven they can determine what type of dog you have by looking at your poop.
How your human genes act.
I feel good.
Microbiomes of healthy mice were transplanted
Sorry about that. Ad came up.
into stressed mice. The stressed mice then showed fewer anxiety symptoms. Fruit flies with
Okay, so with the mice, they put a different gut microbiome into the mouse, and he was less stressful. So it's because it's affecting the vagus nerve. So I'll fast forward a little bit to another interesting part. So here's these athletes that get their part of their gut microbiome put into the mice.
bacteria that helps break down lactate and could help performance and recovery. When these bacteria were transplanted into mice, the mice's treadmill performance increased. And this is all great news because you can't change your genes, but you can change your microbiome for the better. And one of the quickest ways to do that is through food. There are immeasurable other factors that
Yeah, through food. So you shouldn't be putting those nasty things in your stomach.
influence your gut microbiome, where you live, sleep, exercise, stress. But what your body makes and what kind of microbes your gut has depend a lot on the food you eat. You can change your microbiome and potentially your daily experiences and long term health through food. Recent technology makes it possible to
Yeah, so the gut microbiome is very important and has all kinds of effects on you. This was just a quick one. I'll put it in the description. But those mice have less stress and those mice perform better just by changing their gut microbiome. Think about people out in the world. They're stressed and they have other issues, and a lot of it can come from your gut microbiome, and that's affecting your decision making. So this has been studied already. 10 million tons of dog waste. This stuff is everywhere, and it's in the air. I'll put a study in the description about dog feces floating in the air, and now that applies to your lungs, right? But also those particles land on everything that we touch. Our own clothing, our fellow humans when we kiss them, in our houses when we pick up a spoon or a pan. So if it's in the air, it's getting into every orifice of your body and changing the microbiome. And the microbiome in your body, over 500,000 nerves of that microbiome are connected to your brain. So yeah, the decision making of your brain is hugely affected by your microbiome, and your microbiome is affected by feces in the air. Okay, back to this video for a moment. So if the microbiome is affecting the decisions that we're making, there's also something else. This vagus nerve can transport things and end up getting them across the blood-brain barrier, which is how an actual living parasite would get into the brain material. And the healthiness of the gut microbiome is important for the healthiness of the blood-brain barrier. So if the gut microbiome is being utilized to digest all of these nasty pieces off of our dogs, that means the effect of all of that could be bad for the barrier on the brain, the blood-brain barrier. So with all the parasites that are in dog feces, that could also damage the blood-brain barrier, and that would be their path. So we already know that dog dander is an allergen. Allergens cause swelling. Allergens cause the tight matrix of the skin to come apart wherever you have an allergy, like where it's puffy. So if that's happening along the vagus nerve and inside of the epithelium layer of the gut microbiome, the parasites could possibly get in. And yes, there are parasites on dogs. Parasites can make people sick from poop. The study that I'm looking at right now will be in the description. You can keyword search it for parasites. Pets have parasites. Bacteria, parasites. I'm just scrolling through some of these keywords that are in here. So these parasites, if they're down there in your belly in those feces particles, you can say that the blood-brain barrier is going to stop them. But if the gut microbiome is compromised, that's also compromising the blood-brain barrier. Humans and other animals, hookworms, roundworms, tapeworms. That's not good. Okay, probiotics and prebiotics. That's something that a lot of people take these days. So here's a little study that talks about how we are constantly using more and more and more probiotics and prebiotics to fix our health. So if our houses are full of more and more dogs that are making us sick and affecting our gut microbiome to where we have to use these, that's showing something. Something's getting in us that's screwing up our microbiome. Something is causing us to make decisions. So with the gut having such a huge effect on our brain, yes, there definitely could be a parasite from having dogs in our life. And the parasite would be the microbes in the gut that are causing all of these guys right here. Let's go back to our little image on this video. These are the little things in the gut that are being affected by the microbes. This is our little epithelium layer. If our gut is full of all that stuff, up the vagus nerve goes the signals that are created by our gut having to digest all of those feces particles. So people that say, oh, dog owners have a parasite, yeah, the parasite is the gut microbiome that is affecting all of their decisions. Even if you think this is a bunch of goofiness and makes no sense, um, get after it. Study the gut microbiome. It's a huge influencer of everything you do, and it's a huge relationship to our health. People say that exposure to dogs help us with allergies. However, that's not true. It's never been proven, and they just say it. Yet allergy medications and autoimmune diseases are on the rise in our country. Autoimmune illnesses are on the rise. All kinds of illnesses that are connected to the gut microbiome are on the rise. And we have more and more dogs up inside of tight apartments. Just having pet dander all over your house can cause sinus infections. All you got to do is go on Amazon and look up some of these air filter reviews, and people will talk about their ear, nose, and throat doctor and how they have infections, sinus infections, and they have all kinds of dogs in their house, but yet they have less sinus infections when they get these air filters. These air filters are doing what your lungs do. They're sucking in air, and they're getting rid of that nasty stuff. These people have less sinus infections because their bodies are consuming less pet dander. And it's all over Amazon. Anytime that people buy these filters, they get better asthma, better allergy symptoms, and in almost all of these reviews, you will find something about a bunch of dogs in the house. We have 3 dogs in the house. So if this extra pet dander can be giving these people higher allergy symptoms, then absolutely this pet dander can be affecting your gut microbiome. So it's all out there, people. You just got to look at it, put it together, and create a hypothesis. Is there a parasite controlling dog owners? Yeah, if their gut microbiome is messed up, it's affecting their behavior. And it's the same thing with these allergies. If these people have watery eyes and they're having sinus infections, that affects what they do. It affects their time off work. It affects who they talk to. It affects who they're friends with. And also, once they spend all that money, even this guy up here says, he keeps going to his ENT. Once you spend all that money, even though you know the dog is part of the problem, you hardwire your brain to still be loyal to the dog. So if someone tells you, hey, your dog is causing you problems, even though this guy knows it, he's going to be like, no, you get out of here. That's my baby. I'll do anything for him. I'll buy another air filter for $500 and another one just to keep him, even though he keeps having all these allergies. And in this little review that I'm showing you right now, this is not a one-off. There's many, many of these where admittedly they say my dog is a huge part of the problem. The pet dander built up on the kitchen appliances and stuff. So, yeah, I'm thinking we need to quit consuming pet dander. I'm thinking we need to start paying attention to our microbiome. And, yeah. Look up some stuff. It's all going to be in the description. Thanks for watching, guys.